It only took 2 games, but the dream of 82-0 is officially dead for the Toronto Maple Leafs this season, unfortunately. Now, we're not going to smash panic button, obviously. It's one game, 1 loss. This team is still 1-1 on the season, and I don't think we need to be in a rebuild, shut it down. Team stinks. Gerard Fraser in the chat already. Worst team ever. I'm not there. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to panic and call it quits and say that we can't do this and it's all over. But there's some stuff we got to break down in tonight's post-game show in regards to what we're seeing through the first 2 games, because I think that there's a theme that's going on. I think that what we're seeing out of these guys has now continued from what we saw in the preseason to game 1 of the year to now game 2 of the season here tonight against the Red Wings. And it's not like it's stuff that I think can't turn around, but it's stuff that's frustrating. So we'll break it all down here tonight on the Leafs Nation After Dark show presented by Bet365. We appreciate our friends over at Bet365 for being a part of the show here yet again. We will get into our play of the game, our grade of the game, and we will also get into our stat of the day here on the show before we wrap this one up. And just a quick reminder to people, for those of you who want to get super chats in, you want your question or your comment read on the show, proceeds from our super chats do go to SickKids Charity. So send in your super chats, get those in. I will read all of them. I will answer all of them, no matter how positive, negative, whatever they may be. I will answer all of them, and proceeds from our super chats do go to SickKids Charity. So make sure to send in those super chats here now, as we do have the first one of the day, and I might as well get right to it. This one comes in from Benadil. Only game 2, but damn, was really hoping it'd be deeper into the season before we see a stinker like that. Look, in terms of seeing a stinker like that and talking about only game 2 and thought we would be able to wait and it wouldn't take this long, blah, 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 or it would take longer, sorry. They laid a stinker in game 1 as well. They won 5-2, but I don't think that they looked very good. You know, they won 5-2 against the Habs. I thought that they got lucky because the Habs missed a bunch of decent chances that they had. They didn't make the Leafs pay for some of the mistakes, from some of the sloppy play, and they ultimately end up getting away with one there. And you look at Matthews, he scores. You look at Nylander, he walks away with 3 points. Okay, sure, that stuff you could say, sure, they're positives, because even in a not so great effort, not so great execution, they still walked away with points. They still won. That's not sustainable. And it came back and bit them in the ass here in this game tonight. It's just a fact. Like, it got them right away. Took one game for that to catch up to them. And, you know, one of the themes that I've seen from preseason to game 1 to game 2 here tonight was a lack of intensity and carelessness. You know, the Leafs did not protect the puck very well. They were not super on top of things in their defensive zone in terms of positioning, trusting each other to have their jobs covered. Guys getting out of position, losing men. Seem like a lot of puck watching that's going on. It just feels like the intensity or lack thereof that we saw in the preseason has now carried over into games 1 and 2 of the regular season. And I don't know if that's just the nature of a long preseason that the NHL goes through, or if it's a problem with these guys in the room, if it's a problem with the captain, or what is going on that's causing this right now. But there is a very clear lack of intensity and desire through the first couple of games, and you're seeing it trickle down throughout other aspects of the game. It's something we saw previously, but you're seeing it to a real severe degree here through 2 games on the power play, where it just feels like they're kind of out for a skate. They're going through the motions where everybody stands around. There's not much knees being bent. Other than Matthew Nyes, who's parked his ass in front and is kind of battling for position, everyone else more or less just feels like they kind of stand in their spot and wait for something to happen. Nobody's out there making things go their way. Nobody's out there making the Red Wings make the mistake. It's waiting for Detroit to be the one to mess something up and then trying to capitalize on that opportunity. That's not the way things work in the NHL, especially not in the postseason. You could get away with that in an 82-game regular season schedule, but by the time you get to April, May, you want to play into June, you're not getting away with that. You're not going to be successful on your special teams by standing around and hoping, by standing around and just praying that the other team is going to mess something up and you could take advantage of it. It doesn't work like that. And it never will. If this team at this point thinks that they can get away with that lack of intensity and that level of play, 9-10 years into the Matthews era, Nylander era, however you want to put it, they are sadly mistaken. Like, that is just not going to fly. You're never going to get away with that kind of execution. It's a little bit frustrating to see. You'd think that getting to a Game 7 in the second round, losing to the team that goes on and wins the Stanley Cup, a team that embarrassed you, not Detroit here tonight, but the Panthers, like, you finished your season with one of, if not the most embarrassing losses in franchise history. Like, you have to put that loss at the end of last year right up there with the 4-1 Bruins collapse in the third period back in whatever it was, 2011 or 2013, whenever that was. You have to put that on par with that. And you watch these guys start the season, and specifically Matthews and Nylander, it looks like they just don't, like, that never even crossed their minds. Like, there was no shame in the fact that they were just embarrassed completely from top to bottom when they came out into the season. Just no regard for how things ended last year. And now obviously you can't carry things over into the next season, but you'd think that there would be a little bit of a fire underneath them to be like, we went out like shit last year. We were booed off of our ice. There was jerseys thrown. There was people leaving. There was stuff being thrown at us. Like, it was terrible. We need to have some fire, and they just haven't started the season like that. Like, you can never say these guys don't care. I do think that they care, obviously. You don't get to the NHL by not caring at all. But what we've seen through the first 2 games of the season, and yeah, it's 2 games, so like, you don't want to go out here and just call it quits on the entire season, but it's been very disappointing. Let's just call it what it is. This has been a very, very disappointing start to this season in terms of effort and execution. If you were going out and busting your balls every single shift, and you were giving it everything you had, and yeah, it was a little off, and there was some missing parts, or just things weren't clicking, connecting maybe how they should be, you could probably look past it because you're like, okay, you know what? They're giving it everything. You could tell that it's there. You could tell the intensity's there, the fire's there, the passion is there, but the execution will come. You're only 2 games into the season. Right now, we are watching sloppy play. We're watching a lack of attention to detail in the defensive zone. That Patrick Kane goal that was scored tonight, that's embarrassing. If you're the defensive coach or you were a player on the ice there, you better be hearing about that thing later, first of all, and you better be thinking about that one when you go to sleep at night tonight. That's one of those ones where it's either how you set yourselves up in the defensive zone, or just a lack of awareness in general for the fact that you had 5 guys watching the puck on one side of the ice. You had 5 guys follow the puck over into the corner, up onto the wall, and Patrick Kane is standing alone on the other side with his stick tickling the rafters and not a Leafs player in sight. Like, there wasn't even a white jersey on the same half of the ice as Patrick Kane. Like, I don't care how old Patrick Kane is. He's still Patrick Kane. If he's left alone like that and he gets the puck, he's going to bury. You give that guy that kind of space, that opportunity, and you have Alex DeBrincat facilitating the play, making the pass across, you're going to get punished for that. And if this is happening against the Detroit Red Wings, what do you think happens in the postseason when you play the Florida Panthers, the Dallas Stars, the Carolina Hurricanes, the Edmonton Oilers? You will pay for those kinds of mistakes. You can't be having that level of sloppiness go on here. And I'm not saying what happens in Game 2 is a surefire sign of what ends up happening when you get to the playoffs, when you get to Game 1 of the year. But you start developing these habits now, it's quite concerning. It's been an interesting start. Those are some negatives to start the show here tonight. Leafs 1-1 through 2 games of the year here now, losing 6-3 to the Detroit Red Wings tonight in Detroit. 82-0, perfect season, off the table. Let's go to some positives to maybe bring some people back, and we'll see where the chat's at this point and see how everybody's feeling, because, I'm seeing like in the chat 6 1/3, we miss Mitch in the lineup. Really? What the fuck is it that Mitch is doing in this lineup that's pushing this team over the top? It's a couple of games. And nothing that I've seen out of these guys is oh, wow, you're missing a Mitch Marner issue. Effort, not there. Execution, not there. Matthews and Nylander have not been very good through 2 games. Positives. Let's go positives. Positives for me, Nic Roy, I thought looked good here tonight. I thought you could kind of see Nic Roy starting to feel a little bit more comfortable, starting to fit into the lineup and find his groove. You could kind of tell that through the preseason there was a little bit of like trying to find his spot, figure out how to be Nic Roy on the Maple Leafs, kind of balancing that whole situation, and then just figuring out where he could be and how he could be Nic Roy. Through Game 1, you could see it in spurts. We talked about it in the post-game show the other night on Wednesday after Game 1 against the Habs. You could see pieces of Nic Roy's game getting there where it was like, okay, he's got elements to his game that you love. You love to see a big, strong guy who can move up and down the ice, isn't afraid to go to some of the dirty areas. He's got some decent mitts. He's got some good skill. He's got an ability to score. You could see it. I thought this game here tonight, he really started to kind of put that on display. He started to show that even more so. Just watching him go to work down on the wall below the goal line, watching him win battles as well as kind of make plays. I mean, you see the Calle Järnkrok goal. Him and Calle Järnkrok both go to the front of the net. It's Roy who ends up bringing it past Talbot, pushes it by. Järnkrok ends up tapping it in, making sure it's a goal. But Roy's there. He's in position. He gets net front. He's in the right spot. The goal that he ends up scoring, he's out there buzzing around with Nylander. Nylander wins that puck battle, pushes it up to the defense. They kind of crash towards the net. He wins his net front battle, and he gets a stick on the puck, makes a nice tip. I thought Nic Roy started to look a lot better, look a little bit more comfortable, so that's a positive for me. Another positive for me is going to go to Matias Maccelli. I know he didn't have a perfect game. I know that there's still more that you would like to see out of him. And that first line, 100%, like, you need that first line to start to contribute far more than they have been to this point. But Matias Maccelli looked a little bit more comfortable with Nyes and Matthews there. You could see the playmaking ability on display by him. There was a lot of times where he was finding guys through seams. He was making good plays up the wall in the offensive zone where he would kind of get into the cycle game, and rather than being a guy who's going to go down to the corner, because he's not that physical guy who's going to go bang bodies and win battles like that, but he found ways to be effective at the half wall. Find guys cutting through the slot, work your way back up high, and find a way to get the puck down low to somebody in a dangerous spot. There was a couple times where he hit Matthews in front. He hit Nyes for some tips. He hit guys coming in high in the zone. Even the play in the first period where Matthews is coming through the neutral zone and gets the pass across and rips it off the crossbar. That's a good pass by Matias Maccelli, finding Matthews going through the neutral zone. So I thought Maccelli looked a lot better offensively. I do see it being pointed out in the chat there by Comatose. Maccelli is useless defensively. He can't play against top lines. There is a lot to be desired by Maccelli defensively, and you saw that with Berube putting Järnkrok in his place in Game 1 with about 7 minutes left, I think it was, in the first period, where he's swapping Järnkrok into Maccelli's spot because they need some more reliability in the defensive zone from the guy who's going to be playing on that top line, and he elects to go with Calle Järnkrok at that point over Matias Maccelli. And I can't blame him. I completely understand the decision. So you get it when it comes to Berube deciding, hey, you know what, we're gonna go with Calle Järnkrok, a guy who I respect as Craig Berube, and we're gonna take Matias Maccelli, who does struggle a little bit defensively. Out, that is. Now, those are some positives. The other positive that I will give here tonight is Anthony Stolarz continues to look good. I know that this one, there's 6 goals scored against the Leafs tonight, but, you know, Anthony Stolarz, especially in the first 2 periods, he's probably the main reason, second period especially, I think Anthony Stolarz is like the main reason that this game doesn't end up 2-2, 3-2, 4-2 for the Detroit Red Wings early. It obviously ends up spinning back the other way, but I think a lot of that was the Leafs' lack of execution, their defensive zone breakdowns, their lack of awareness beyond center ice into their own zone, and I thought Anthony Stolarz made some pretty high-end saves. And it's not going to be reflected in his save percentage here tonight. He makes 29 saves on 33 shots against with an .879 save percentage. So, you know, that's obviously not going to go great for him statistically and amongst other goaltenders. But, you know, if it's not for Stolarz, I don't think that the Leafs have as much of a chance in this game as they actually ended up having here tonight, because I thought he was pretty locked in early. He made some real big saves. You know, you look at DeBrincat point blank. There was one of them. There was a couple that were scrambly where he ends up having to sprawl out. There was one that ends up hitting the point. I think it was a shot from Axel Sandy and Pellikka that makes its way through and hits the post. Stolarz can't find it, but he kind of a little bit freaks out at first, but then calmly kind of reacts, settles in, gets himself into a solid position to be able to recover anything that could be on the ice, and ends up making a second save there off of that. So Stolarz playing the way he did was also a positive. What other positives do I have? Let's see. Another positive, Max Domi, I thought looked good. You could tell somebody has spoken to him about making sure he has some type of shoot first mentality. How many times last year did we watch him go in on a 2-on-1, 3-on-2 as the puck carrier where he would skate in, and then be like 6 inches away from the goaltender and not having made a pass or a shot because he's looking past the entire way, can't get the pass off because the defender takes it away, and not a single part of him wants to take a shot. That's changed this year. And I think that the Leafs are going to benefit from that, because if he can actually be a threat off with a shot and with a scoring ability, then it makes him more of a threat as a passer, because the goaltender has to play him honestly, right? The goaltender has to be prepared every time he comes in that this is a guy who could actually shoot the puck. I don't have to be prepared that he's only going to pass it. Like, I have to be aware that he's going to be taking a shot. He has to play him honestly, which opens up the ability for him to actually make the pass and be a little bit more dangerous. It also makes the defender have to play him a little bit more honestly. Like, it just opens things up, because as you look at it right now, you watch Max Domi come in, and 99% of the time, you know he's going to pass the puck. This game here tonight was a prime example of that maybe going in the right direction. 3 shots on goal for him. He comes in behind Auston Matthews with 6, Nic Roy with 4, and then you look around the rest, it is Max Domi with 3, Matthew Knies with 3, and you look down, it is Dakota Joshua with 2, so it's kind of how things shake out for the Leafs. There's a couple other guys with some more shots on goal, but nothing really standing out other than those guys there at the top. Auston Matthews obviously leading the way with the 6. But Domi getting some shots off, does get a couple opportunities, and then he does score the goal. You know, it's a sketchy play to start with by Brandon Carlo in his own corner, in his own zone. Tries to make a play down behind the net and just kind of completely whiffs on it. Detroit picks the puck up, tries to make a play out front. The Leafs sort of recover back defensively. Max Domi ends up picking it up, hauls ass the other way. Kudos to Morgan Rielly, who was motoring. And as they mentioned on the broadcast, he drives the center, which drives Moritz Seider down low to the kind of the goalie, to the goal line area. And then as Matthew Knies goes to the far post, the Detroit defenders end up having to slump back, and opens up some space for Max Domi. And on top of that, it creates a little bit of a distraction and some traffic in front of Talbot. Like, he has to fight through screens. He has to fight through some nonsense in front of him. Domi gets a shot off. It ends up trickling through Talbot, and then he finds the back of the net. Positive for Domi. I see it brought up like 10 times here by 6 1/3, having a panic attack right now about Domi taking the penalty, saying take a penalty on a breakaway. Let's like check ourselves here. He had the breakaway because he took the penalty. Like, he was not getting that breakaway otherwise. Domi hauling ass after the puck, which McMahon flips out into the neutral zone, kind of in a like time and space chase down situation. He goes to make the play on it, and it's Max Domi getting over aggressive, as he frequently does when making plays like that, jumps across and grabs the shoulder of Berggren and pulls him down. He's not getting by him, he's not getting the puck, and he's not getting a breakaway if he doesn't take that penalty. So let's not come here and freak out about the fact that, oh, Max Domi took a penalty on a breakaway. He's not getting the puck if he doesn't haul down Berggren there. Like, it's just not. He only gets the breakaway because he took the guy down. Let's be realistic. So, yes, I did not like it. I think it was kind of stupid of Max Domi to be doing in that position. I think it was an overly aggressive play by him to make in that situation when you could have just fought for the puck, probably not got the same opportunity, but maybe caused some type of turnover or panic from Berggren there, who's kind of the last man back. He knows he's got U.S. pressure. He knows Bobby McMahon's going to be coming in here. Like, you just don't need to make that play. You could have battled for that puck a little bit differently. But, you know, at this point, watching the lack of intensity throughout the rest of the lineup, I'm not going to get on Max Domi's case for showing some type of nuts here at this point. Because you could see the fact that he wants it. And in game 2 of the season, whatever. In the playoffs, sure, I'll come on here and go balls to the wall, freaking out about how that's a dumb play and should never happen. I get it. I'll give it to you there. Game 2, I'm just not going to do that. He's pushing. He's putting some pressure on. He's trying to turn that puck over and create an opportunity for the Leafs. He does. He just does it in what was ultimately a little bit of a stupid way and pulls the guy down. But as we're talking about Max Domi here, let's get to our Uber Eats stat of the day. Thank you to our friends at Uber Eats. It is Crave the Stats is a presentation of Uber Eats. Our stat of the day, Uber Eats is enabling fans to maximize their fandom all season long with exclusive game day deals on the app. From game day eats to paper plates and napkins if you're hosting, to all the ingredients you need to make your favorite game day dip before, during, and after the game. Uber Eats is assisting every fan's hockey experience all season long. Make sure to hit that link in the bio if you are looking to get yourself some Uber Eats. Uber is a very popular app on my phone. I'm not going to lie. It's like one of those ones where your phone recommends it. It's one of those that does for me, especially during the season. There's a lot of times like Alberga doesn't do the post games, but he's come on here with me as a guest a couple of times. And he's kind of like, alluded to the fact that, hey, maybe after the post game show, I will be seeing Alberga. Well, he's there early. He's holding down the fort at the bar, but the easiest way for me to get there is Uber. And sometimes after a show, I've been on here for an hour and a half, 2 hours. I'm gassed. I don't want to cook, but I'm starving. As the show's wrapping up, there will be times where I'm pulling up Uber Eats and getting something to the door for the second that the show is done. I walk out of here, I grab that Uber Eats, and we are on our way. Our Uber Eats stat of the day, Crave the Stats with Uber Eats. It took Max Domi 20 games last season to score his first goal of the season, and it only took him 2 this year. Look, I don't think Max Domi is going to end up having to be relied upon to be a center this year, which I think is a positive for the team as a whole. I don't think there's going to be as much pressure put on him to be a guy who can step up and elevate and kind of put up some points when you consider what they had in the bottom 6 in years past and what he represented down there. And when he went through droughts, there was so much more pressure and talk and concern about Max Domi and what he lacks and what this team needs. And, okay, he's not scoring. Who's going to score? Well, I think that some of that's going to be alleviated because I think guys like Dakota Joshua and Nic Roy can take some of that off his plate. Scott Laughton here for the whole year. They can alleviate some of that pressure. But if Max Domi can put up points and he can buzz around and he can play like the way he did tonight, minus that stupid penalty that he took when he's kind of trying to create that breakaway against Berggren, chasing him down. If he can do that, and starting off here on the right foot, scoring 2 games into the season rather than having that dark cloud above you that took him 20 games last year where it's just kind of, it's something that has to be talked about every single night. If he can get this ball rolling and get some points under him and get some goals under him, I think that you start to look at this bottom 6 and start to feel a lot more comfortable with what you've got and the overall construction. You're still going to want to look to add somebody in the top 6. You want to improve what you're looking at for your first 2 forward lines, but just the way that they're constructed, if you get those points from Domi and he's not having to worry and have conversations all the time and grip his stick so tight and he's got a bit of a shoot first mentality, your bottom 6 is structured and kind of positioned to be way more offensively inclined than it has in years past, where they're also defensively responsible and also heavy and also hard on the forecheck. And I think it can kind of unlock Domi a little bit, especially if when everybody's healthy, he plays on a line with Waugh and Joshua, and he can fit in there as the playmaking guy who can score, he can play physical, he can buzz up and down the ice. So hopefully this is something that can kind of get Max Domi off on the right foot for this season. We do have some more super chats here, so I want to make sure that we answer all of these. Let's start here with the first super chat. And a reminder, super chats, proceeds from our super chats do go to SickKids Charity. Nate92 says, only thing weaker than Matthews' hairline are his wrists. Another season of watching him try to score garbage goals because he can't shoot. Look, I don't know if I'm on an island here with this one, but I'm just going to have to hard disagree with Nate92. Like, I appreciate the super chat. I appreciate the participation in the show, but I'm not, for those who are new, you guys will find out quickly. For those who are coming back, I'm not one of those people who's just going to agree with you for the sake of agreeing with you. Saying that his wrists are weak and he can't shoot, I think is fair for last season. He wasn't very good last year. The shot was off. The accuracy was off. The zip on it was off. Like, all of it. It was tough. To say that after what we saw here tonight out of him, I think is just a bullshit comment, truthfully. You watched the shot that Matthews took in the first period that rung off the bar. That shot on its own had more zip on it than any shot we saw Matthews take in any game last season. We're watching him take some one-timers here now. Maccelli hits him when he's coming in early in the first period there, just crosses over the line, puck drop back, he steps into one. Watching him a couple times where he's opening things up backdoor on the power play or on the 6-on-5, where he opens up for the one-timer, where last season he's probably getting the puck, stopping it, trying to look and take a second, and then maybe take a step and then get a shot off and take a wrister. He's actually taking one-timers. Yes, he's a little bit off on the calibration. Yes, he hit the post. Yes, he got stopped a couple of times. But the fact that he's actually taking them, and the fact that that shot has some zip to it where it just didn't last year at all. I mean, unfortunately, Nate92, I just have to disagree with you strongly on this one. I think the shot, more than anything, looks like it's back. Like, I think that it looks like it's there. So I'll give credit where it's due to Auston Matthews for having the shot, and I don't think it's fair to be calling him out and saying that this is a guy who's weak and got a weak shot here and blah, blah, blah. I don't think that that's fair. I really don't. We do have more super chats here, so let's get to the next one here on the show. Our next super chat comes in from Show Me Row. Show Me Row says, never want to see OEL on his offside again. Brutal. Look, I will agree with you there. OEL through 2 games this season has not looked very good. OEL is a friend of the program. He's a friend of the channel. If you guys are watching Leafs Morning Take Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. Eastern time, right here on the channel, which you should be, by the way. Alberga, Rosehill on here, breaking everything down every single day. They had OEL on to close out the summer. I thought he was awesome. I loved him last year. OEL has not been very good through the first 2 games. He looked a little bit like he was a step behind in the preseason, and that has kind of carried over here. Now, in fairness to him, the penalty that he took on the Mason Raymond, I constantly say Mason Raymond. The Lucas Raymond, the penalty that was taken there where Detroit ultimately ends up scoring. I think that was a bit of a soft call. I think that part of that was because Matthews at the other end had taken down Finney, and there was a reaction from the Detroit bench. There was a reaction from the Detroit fan base. Like, they wanted a call there. I also don't know what they were looking at for that one, but the fact that the refs were given an opportunity to maybe make amends for something that they felt they might have missed the first time around, even if it was a soft call, and even if he did go down easy, and even if I don't think that Lucas Raymond was necessarily taken down by the stick, I think that he might have just been going down anyways. They saw it, stick near the feet. It was near the feet, so I mean, that's fair, and it is a fast game. It's in real time. They call OEL for the trip, but he's kind of just looked like he's a step behind. Like, he looks like he's not being
He's not being as efficient as a puck mover as he was last season. He's not being efficient defensively as he was last year, where we saw him so active with his stick, so effective with his stick. When guys would come down and try to drive past him, he didn't have to step across and light guys up or take body away right away. You could see him because his feet were moving fast enough. He could match your pace. He could match tempo. He could be right there with guys. He could get the stick across and break up a play quickly. He's been a bit off. Like he's missed a bit of that here to start this season. And hopefully it's just something that's been a little bit slower for him and picks up as we get going here. Like we are only 2 games in. So again, not smashing panic button. But again, we are seeing a theme through 2 games. Intensity is lacked. I don't think OEL is a guy who lacks intensity personally, but intensity has lacked. Some sloppiness has been there through 2 games. And again, sloppiness with sticks, penalties, defensively, passing. OEL has struggled with some of that. And it's weird because, that super chat there, we bring up the fact that, he's playing on his offside, and Show Me Row says he never wants to see OEL play on his offside again. Like, he played a lot of last year on his offside. He actually ended up playing in the playoffs with Benoit on his offside, and I thought they were one of the more effective pairs that the Maple Leafs had. But hasn't been good through 2 games. Just quickly, one of the things I want to address here in the chat, Steven Roy seems to be harping on the fact that this Leafs team is not as fast as they have been previously. Look, my pushback on this is just going to be, and as we watch this season and everybody wants to make comments, and it's going to be something that's going to come up as we go through this entire year. And I understand that, and it'll be something we try to navigate through here on the post-game show. It's going to be something the boys navigate through on the morning show, adapting and watching a team play a different style and just have a little bit of a different identity, hopefully, as the year goes along, and trying to understand that things are going to be different and look different and feel different than what they were last year. But, I understand there's going to be critiques about this isn't what it looked like last year. This isn't the same as what it was in years past. Things didn't work in years past. In 9 years, the team made it past the first round twice. One of those times was an absolute shit pumping by the Florida Panthers, where they lost in 5, and it was almost like a gentleman's lost in 5. And then last year they go to 7, and yet in those 7 games they had 2 of the most embarrassing games we've ever seen this team play. Game 5 and Game 7 were extremely pathetic. They've had years where they were fast, where they were offensively inclined, where they would score 1 billion goals all year and could have a track meet and win 8-7. They lost in the first round year after year after year, and when they did make it to the second round, it wasn't like it was this amazing triumph that was going on where they couldn't be stopped and wow, they had this magical run. No, it still would get to the second round, and then we would see the same things that had happened in the first round in other years come to fruition in those second rounds. So watching the team and saying they're slower, speed is how the game is played, which is, I believe, the comment that was made in the chat. Speed is the way the game is played, is the exact comment that was made. Disagree. Watch the Florida Panthers, who have now won back-to-back Stanley Cups and have gone to 3 straight. Who's their burner? Barkov's not that fast. Tkachuk's not that fast. Bennett's not that fast. They're heavy. They're physical. They wear you down. I don't think speed and skating circles around other teams is the way that you're going to win Stanley Cups. I just don't. And we've tried with these other ways, and now they're going to try to do this differently. And they're going to try to build this way more for the playoffs. As Irv Blitzer says in the chat there, the games slow down in the playoffs. Would you rather win regular season games, or would you rather have success in the playoffs? They're trying to set themselves up for success in the playoffs. You have to win games in the regular season. You have to get yourself there. You have to get yourself into the right spot. I get all that. But the game slows down in the playoffs. And how they have been built in years past has not worked. So when you talk about the speed of the team and how they're slower, I don't really care. Do you play hockey well? Can you win games? Okay. Also, I see a lot of people saying some stuff here about making playoffs. They're not going to get there. What am I talking about? This team's a wild card team, blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to sit here and guarantee you or call that this team wins the Atlantic or something like that. Like, I'm not going to try to pull one of those out. I think the Atlantic is very wide open, so that could allow for some of that. But the reality is, through 2 games, one of the main things that we've seen has been that Matthews and Nylander have kind of been out to lunch. Like, I don't think I'm watching a bad hockey team. I think I'm watching a hockey team that has lacked attention to detail. And its 2 superstars have been going through the motions through 2 games. Like, this is not an unfixable issue. It's game 2. We're not at game 20 watching the same thing happen here. It's a much different situation than a team that just doesn't have it. Like, I think that they've got the right build. They've got the deepest team they've had. Their goaltending's good. I think their defense will be fine in the long run. I think you're missing production and execution from Auston Matthews and William Nylander. Those guys start showing up. The rest of the team, the intensity picks up here. The attention to detail picks up. You're fine. These are not bad hockey players. You're not thin when it comes to your construction from lines 1 to 4. You're not thin when it comes to the defense from pairing 1 to 3. You just got to start to piece things together here. I think they'll be fine. They're a lot heavier. They're a lot bigger. I think they're a lot better constructed for the playoffs. And even the guys they have in the bottom 6 have an ability to score and make an impact on the game. So I'm not going to, like, freak out. I just think that it's too early. It's 2 games. We're going to be okay. Like, things will be okay. A reminder as we continue on here in the show, we still have our play of the game, our grade of the game to go here. Just quick thing for people to note, if you are watching and you haven't already, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe here to the channel, turn on notifications. I want to see this channel. I mean, we're really close to 20,000 subscribers. I want to get to 20,000 by the end of October. I mean, it's October 11th, so we've got a while to go here, but by Halloween night, when I do the show November 1st, the Saturday, November 1st, I want to see the number 20,000 surpassed here on the channel. So if you haven't already, like the stream, subscribe here to the channel, Leaf Station 401. All the content that comes here on the channel, Leaf Station After Dark, Leaf Station pregame videos, or we're talking about the lineups, who's in, who's out, who's playing with who's the goalie, what's the matchups, all that kind of stuff. It happens in the pregame, And then Leafs Morning Take, Monday to Friday, 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Nick Alberga, Jay Rosehill, Dave Pagnotta hopping on there when Rosie's not in as well, and a ton of amazing guests joining the boys on the Leafs Morning Take. So make sure to hit that subscribe button. And for those who don't know, the final note that I'll make, just a little bit of housekeeping. Every set of 50 likes, 50, 100, 150, 200, we do the smelling salts here on the channel. So you get those likes in, you subscribe to the channel, you tell your friends, you share the link, all that good stuff. We do the smelling salts every 50 likes. So make sure to hit that like button. Thank you guys. As always, I do appreciate the support, and I appreciate you guys showing up here. Quickly, let's talk about injuries before I go on and get some of the other things off my chest that I have to. The Laughton injury hurts, for starters. Now, you have to go next man up. You have to figure out how you're going to handle things when it comes to, okay, who fits in what spot, because there's not a guarantee that you're going to have 100% health when it comes to playoffs. You're not guaranteed that everybody, as you go along through the playoffs, stays healthy the entire time either. So whether you get to game one or you continue through and by, mid-second round, somebody is injured, somebody is hurt. Like, that's entirely possible. That's well within the realm of possibility. But you have to figure out who's the next man up. Now, with that being said, it's kind of unfortunate that you start the season off this way, because I don't think we're getting a fair and honest shake of what you have in this lineup and how everybody fits together. I mean, you look at the way that this roster is impacted when a guy like Scott Laughton is out. He's your 4C. So what you end up having to do here is move Domi off the wing, which I think he's better suited for, into the third-line center position. You're moving Nic Roy down to your fourth-line center. You've got Nick Robertson and Calle Järnkrok, who Calle Järnkrok, and I mean, I'm just checking. You want to talk about crave the stats. Calle Järnkrok played 8 minutes and 20 seconds here tonight, which I would assume means that he got banged up at some point throughout this one, because Craig Berube loves to use Järnkrok in any possible situations, and I don't think that Järnkrok did anything that would warrant him being benched or having minutes taken away. We saw the trust Berube had in him and the situations he was using him in. To have only 8 minutes and 20 seconds of time on ice, I think he got banged up, so now you're relying on other people to step up. The other thing that you end up having happen here tonight is Steven Lorentz only plays 1 minute and 17 seconds. I thought he looked really good in game one. I thought he had his legs under him. I thought he looked like he had some life to his game, and in Lorentz's first minute 17 of this game here tonight, I thought he started off on the right foot as well. He takes that hit in the neutral zone that was up high. I don't know how long he's going to be out here for. I'm not going to speculate on what it was or why it happened or why he left the game, or the severity of it for that matter. But leaving immediately like that, he knew something was wrong, never returned to the bench, never returned to the game. That's kind of a concerning thing when you look at this team moving forward and realizing, okay, now you've lost your 4C, your fourth line left winger, potentially your fourth line right winger, and that depth that we spent all summer talking about and how they were a deeper team, it's immediately getting cut, and you're being forced to kind of put some guys in here who maybe lack some experience, or some guys that just initially didn't make your roster. We're probably going to get to a point, if those guys aren't healthy, where we see Pezzetta, we see Easton Cowan make his debut. Maybe we see Jacob Quillen. These guys step into the lineup, which is fine, but Pezzetta, Cowan, Quillen, it's not the same as when you put guys like Laughton, Lorentz, Järnkrok, even for that matter, with the veteran presence into this lineup. Maybe at some point here, we even see David Kampf. I don't know. That was just touching on injuries quickly and what we saw here tonight, especially when you consider the ice time. That means you see a lot of other guys having to step up, and maybe some guys who are playing more minutes that they shouldn't have to play. Maybe that overexposes people. It's entirely possible that we're watching guys who are Sammy Blaze also could be another guy who steps up as well, by the way, as pointed out in the chat by System Soundbar and Michael Kirkpatrick. But you put Nick Robertson in and he's taking more minutes than maybe or being exposed to matchups and situations that he shouldn't be exposed to. Okay, let's get to our best bet and break down what happened there. It was a rough night all around, and I mean, if we continue to see an effort like this out of this guy, I might just have to stop betting on him as a whole. So let's get to our best bet segment, presented by Bet365. Appreciate our friends over at Bet365 for coming back here yet again this season. We started the season off the right foot with 1-1, but we were positive $60 profit, which would be 0.6 of a unit. The show is a presentation of Bet365. Whatever your bet is, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Download the app and get in on the game. Use the code NATION, N-A-T-I-O-N. That's code NATION, N-A-T-I-O-N. Bet365, you must be 19 or older. Please play responsibly. Ontario only. Getting to our best bet here tonight. We end up losing this one, and it was a William Nylander anytime goal. Look, guys, I'm not even going to try to sugarcoat this one. When you bet on a guy who looks like he didn't bend his knees once during the game, I mean, other than the play where Morgan Riley shoots it, Nic Roy tips it, and that one goes in where you saw Nylander down below the goal line battling, gets the puck back, makes a play up the wall, and then passes it to the defenseman who gets the shot off that Roy tips. Other than that, William Nylander was pretty non-existent here tonight. You want that guy to be a takeover type of player. He's very clearly got it in him. He has the ability. It's just whether or not he decides to turn it up. And he's almost kind of reverted to like the 2 years ago Willie, where a lot of times I would come on the show after the game and I would talk about the fact that, well, Nylander, he didn't have the scoring here tonight and he was out for a Sunday skate, where he's got these polar opposite ends. And then the last 2 years, it felt more like those stretches or those games in between, they kind of were like eliminated or maybe not as much eliminated, but they were like not as drastic where it wouldn't hit as hard and you wouldn't be watching going, wow, Willie was terrible tonight. It would be like, okay, yeah, he didn't have his best game, but he was fine. These 2 games to start this season has kind of almost gone back to the William Nylander where he would have like his unbelievable game and then he would be terrible. And that's what he's kind of being, at least intensity-wise, through the first 2 games. And I would put Matthews right there along with them. Those two guys, they really got to elevate their game, especially you got paid your money. There's another guy who's not here anymore. You've got to elevate your play. You want to be these superstars. Step it up. Find a way to make an impact. Find a way to carry your team. Find a way to help. Because what you're doing right now, it's not good enough. And through the first 2 games, those 2 guys have been out to lunch. We do end up losing a half unit on that bet for William Nylander tonight. So a loss of $50 does bring us up to only a $10 profit on the season. And that would also bring us to a 1-2 record on the year. So we have $10 profit. It was half unit at plus 165 on a Willie anytime goal. We lose that one. We were profiting $60 going into this one, so now we are only up 10. Hopefully we'll turn this around on Monday. Not just me and the post and the best bets, but the quality of play as well. Dave Walton, the first 2 lines were crap. Dave, hard to disagree with you, brother. I get where you're coming from. Okay, with that said, let's get now to our play of the game. Okay, play of the game for me. Man, I think I kind of want to give it to Nic Roy for his first goal as a Leaf. I think that I think he looked uncomfortable in the preseason, and I think that through the first 2 games of the regular season, you're seeing why he's a guy who can make an impact. The rest of the team, the rest of the game aside, I thought Nic Roy looked pretty good tonight. I thought he started to show signs of it in game 1 and just built off of it here. You saw the goal that he scores, the tip in front. You see him using his body and his physicality and his size, whether it's fighting for position in front of the net, if it's the play that he's trying to make to Croke, who's coming through the slot when he's trying to put it through his legs. He's got that skill. He's got some good hands. There was even a play in the second period where Roy goes behind the net, battles for the puck, comes up with it, goes to go around on his backhand, hits brakes, comes back out the other way, kind of loses the defender, comes out with some open ice and tries to go short side. Like, he was making plays. He was very involved offensively. He was very noticeable tonight. And he's not a guy that I watch and kind of want to claw my eyes out going, you're so big, you're so strong, you have such an ability to use that physicality to your advantage, and you just don't with all the size that you have. Like, I would think like a guy like Nick Ritchie fit into that category for me, where he was massive, but he just didn't use the size that he had to his advantage. That doesn't seem to be the case here with Nic Roy. Like, he's not going out there through the first couple of games, at least anyways, and running guys through the glass or punching guys' brains out, but he uses it to benefit himself and benefit his game, and that's something that I'm at least happy about, because you go out and you acquire this big body and you put him in your bottom 6, you're expecting some type of physicality, some type of heaviness, and traditionally we haven't gotten it here as Leafs fans. Nic Roy seems to have that to his game, while also having that kind of, I don't want to say soft, but like that skilled side to him, where he can kind of make the finesse play and have some heads up ability and move the puck around well. So, good on Nic Roy for stepping up. I thought the goal he scored, it's not like the prettiest goal in the world, but it starts with William Nylander down in the corner, who kind of chases after the puck. Maybe the only time tonight he did chase after the puck, gets it back, goes up the wall, up to the defenseman, shot goes off, and Nic Roy, as he's going towards the front, establishes his body position, gets a stick on it, and makes a nice tip that ends up going in the back of the net. So kudos to Nic Roy. That's going to be my play of the game. I am being asked here for the deserve to win a meter, so I'll get to the deserve to win a meter here quickly. Deserve to win a meter, which I assume is going to be heavily in favor of the Detroit Red Wings, and it is. It looks like we're at 73% for the Red Wings here tonight, 26-27. Depends how you want to put the decimals here. 27 or high 26% for the Maple Leafs deserve to win, and that seems extremely accurate for what I witnessed out there tonight. It looked like the Red Wings wanted it more. It looked like they were hungrier. It looked like they just had more interest in playing tonight and coming out with 2 points than what the Maple Leafs did. It just was not an effort that I want to see from these guys, and it's pretty unfortunate that that's kind of what you get through the first 2 games, and specifically this one here tonight, because a 6-3 loss. I mean, yeah, there's some empty netters in there, but man, it stinks to watch. It really does stink to watch. Before we go, we do have grade of the game, so we'll get to the grade of the game quickly. And just a quick reminder here as well, we are 3 likes away from 50 here on the post-game show tonight. If you haven't already, make sure to hit that like button. Subscribe here to the channel, Leafs Nation 401. At 50 likes, I'll do the smiling salt. So if that's how I have to wrap up the show tonight, that's how I have to wrap up the show. I'm fine with that. But you guys send your grade of the game in the chat as well. I want to know what you guys are thinking, feeling about this one tonight, and how you are rating this one. I'm going to go with... oh, man. I'm considering the F. I think I'm going to be easier on them, and I'm going to go with like a D, maybe a D- as the grade of the game for tonight. You had some positives, as I kind of talked about off the top, and I also haven't mentioned Morgan Rielly here, who I'm not going to sit
and pretend like he was phenomenal in this game, but I thought he looked decent again. And when you consider what's gone on around him, him stepping up and kind of making an impact like Morgan Rielly of old is a breath of fresh air, a positive sign. So I'll go with the D, not the D minus, not the F. I'll go with the D because it's game 2. We're still working our way into it. You look at Max Domi. I thought he was very involved. He scores in game 2. That kind of weight can get lifted off of his shoulders. He showed a shot first mentality here tonight. 3 shots on goal. That's third behind Auston Matthews and Nic Roy, who actually ends up having 4. So glad to see that. I know Stolar's stats aren't going to be doing him justice, where he walks out with an 879. He gives up 4 goals, but I thought he looked good, so that's going to be another positive sign for me. The penalty kill, I mean, you are 3 for 4, so kudos to you there. Let's run through the negatives here again. Superstars, Nylander, Matthews, not showing up. Power play, pathetic. Defensive zone, nightmare. Like, it looks like these guys are just going through the motions right now and making pee-wee mistakes. Like, there are points where it is just puck watching everywhere. Guys getting lost, guys for missing assignments. There was a shift in the first period I watched where, like Bobby McMahon hustles his ass back and he gets back into the D zone, and you watch both Leafs defensemen go down towards the puck in the corner, and there's 2 Red Wings in there. McMahon ends up going in with them or kind of following towards them, and I believe it was Patrick Kane who ends up open in the top of the circles to the slot area, just because McMahon at that point had kind of gone too far down. And now maybe traditionally that's not the guy he's supposed to be picking up, but just having that awareness of where you're supposed to be and where open guys are and where Red Wings players are that are coming into the zone. Like, this team right now seems to be lacking a lot of that. I don't know if it was losing Lane Lambert that's caused this. I don't know if they are just kind of not caring. I mean, they obviously care, but just being like, okay, yeah, playoffs is what matters. This doesn't, but there's just this attention to detail that's missing when it comes to the defensive zone. That's really, really frustrating. They are heavier. They are more physical. Give them that. But those other areas, they've really got to figure things out. It's just not going to be conducive to having any type of success in the regular season. And, the style of play we can all have a debate on, and I'm sure it's going to last the entire season as we go throughout from game 1 on Wednesday night to game 82 at the end of the year before you get into playoffs. Is it too slow? Is it too heavy? Do they score enough? Do they not score enough? Whatever it may be, we can have those conversations. But in lack of intensity and being this disjointed when it comes to defensive zone play and just, actually having attention to detail, that's not going to get you anywhere. Like, regardless of what your systems are, your structure, your style of play, it's not going to matter if the other mental aspects of the game just are not there. Mental and heart, like those things were missing in the first 2 games. You got away with a win against Montreal on Wednesday, but you had to pay for it tonight against Detroit. And if you continue to play like this, it's not going to get any better. It's just not. You got to start to figure those things out, and then I think we can get a true understanding of what you have for what the style is and if it works or not. But outshot 35-23. You took more penalties than they did. Your power play stunk. There's a lot to be desired from this Leafs team so far this through the first 2 games, and it's something you hope they figure out fast. I mean, to be blunt about it, it's not good enough. It's not good enough, and this is not going to be good enough going forward. But that'll do it for me here tonight on the post-game show. Thank you to everyone who watched, who subscribed, who came here for the first time, stuck around and participated in the show. For those of you in the chat, for those of you who sent your super chats, quickly before we wrap up the show here tonight, we did hit 50 likes. So thank you for liking the stream, for subscribing to the channel. I appreciate that very much so. Let's get to our smelling salts here quickly, because you guys liked it. We hit 50. Here's the smelling salts. Oh, it burns. It burns the nose. All right. What a way to end it. 11 o'clock on a Saturday, and we're doing smelling salts as I wrap up the show. Thank you guys for watching. Appreciate it. I will be back here on Monday for a game preview. Game on Monday, just a quick note for those of you who don't know. Game on Monday moved to 2 p.m., so that means the post-game show will take place around 4:45-ish, 4:30. So make sure to be back here. For those of you in Canada, for those of you abroad who are still celebrating it, happy Thanksgiving to all. Enjoy the rest of your nights. Enjoy your weekends. Enjoy your time with your families, if that's what you guys are up to. But enjoy your Thanksgivings. I will see you guys back here on Monday for a pregame video and another edition of Leafs Nation After Dark for a rematch against the Detroit Red Wings. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you on Monday. Until then, don't panic, Leafs Nation. It's 1-1. It's game 2 of the season. It'll be okay. It'll be okay. Keep believing. For more content just like this, including game previews, post-game live shows, Leafs Morning Take Monday through Friday with Nick Alberga and Jay Rosehill with special guests, as well as instant reaction videos, make sure to subscribe here to the Leafs Nation YouTube channel. Turn on notifications so you don't miss anything, and drop a like.